Hello, welcome to Christian News Digest. I know the Orlando shooting is on a lot of people's minds, but I want to quickly cover a couple other things first. Let's see. This is a scary headline, really. Babies acting cute is a ploy to trick adults into caring for them, scientists say. It's when you have that extreme secular worldview where everything came from nothing and life came from non-life, then at one point the definition of some areas of science boils down to just looking at what features animals and mankind have and just trying to come up with theories about how they could have evolved. Because in just a suppression of any kind of intelligence. So just the cuteness of babies evolved too, but it's also scary in that it's kind of a bad thing that babies are cute, and they force us and trick us and hack our brains into taking care of them. There's words in the article like how it's sinister, how babies are cute and they force you to care about them and take care of them as if it would be so much more advantageous or easier to be selfish if we didn't mind if babies died, and it would be easier to kill them if they weren't so cute, but they trick us into loving them. And it's scary to see perspectives like that. Another big thing that made the rounds, a lot of headlines, was that the mother of a girl with Down syndrome sends a letter to a doctor who suggested abortion. And it wasn't just a suggestion, it was just a lot of ongoing pressure that when they did the test that came up with that the child did have Down syndrome, that there was just pressure throughout the pregnancy to abort the child. And now that I think she's 15 months old now and brought so much joy to the family's life. She's the third daughter. They had no problems with the first two kids, and then this genetic defect with the third one. But they decided not to kill their baby because, as it turned out, their own daughter was still able to bring great joy to the family. And this issue of pro-life just isn't going away, even as the nation gets much more secular and much more liberal. This pro-life issue isn't going away because as we know more and more about the science and life inside the womb, that it seems like the Christian perspective, the conservative perspective, that a baby is equally a baby right before it's born and right after it's born. It's a human either way. That actually makes sense, and then it's really hard to explain how it's just a clump of cells right before it's born, but not right after it's born. And now with the Orlando shooting, I got a bunch of angry messages when I objected to accusations that the shooting was Christians' fault because you would hear things like, oh, well, conservatives in America have created an anti-gay climate, and that's really what's to blame for just this instance of shooting in Orlando. And it was 49 were killed by a jihadi Muslim terrorist that wanted to do these in the name of his religion. But I got Yaya Snow, a big Muslim YouTuber, sent me messages like, oh, he couldn't be a Muslim, and I got some messages from the LGBT crowd that in no way he was religiously motivated, but it's clear that he was. And if some parts of the liberal side of the media, which is much of the media, is so used to reframing everything instead of being objective, instead of reporting the news, that there'd be a reframing around this narrative. But when you have a gay Democrat Muslim killer, then that just makes all of your narratives fall apart. So you just have to aggressively ignore the data when you're reporting. Like a New York Times, what we call a former newspaper, if you looked at their website, they had a bunch of articles like, are conservatives to blame, are Christians to blame, are guns to blame, and then nothing about why is it that Islam is the portion of Islam that is like this. Again, much of it is not. If you want to check out the details of our emotional and theological reaction, you could look at the other apologetical video. This is just the news one about what happened. But why is it that this portion of Islam is producing so many killers? For example, here's NPR, which is claiming and pretending to objectively report the news, says that NPR reports investigators are increasingly convinced that the Orlando attack had little or maybe even nothing to do with ISIS, which is a complete and utter misrepresentation. It's not the news, not what happened, not accurate, and it's sad that things like New York Times or NPR give us wrong information about what happened. And again, there has to be some hole in your worldview. There has to be something empty in your worldview if you cannot talk about what happened without pretending that this guy that was very religiously motivated was religiously motivated. Now, contrary to what NPR here says, the actual FBI report was that he was about how calm and chilling it was. And actually, while he was killing, he was checking his Facebook. He used Facebook as cooperating with the investigation because he used his social media so much to check out pro-Muslim terrorist websites, and he was even doing those things during the attack. And he also texted his wife, and he during the attack while he was shooting to say like, have you checked the news yet? And she maybe approved of these things and said that she loved him, though at the time she said like, I'm so shocked, how could it have happened? And then she ran away, and nobody knows where she is right now, and she got away from the FBI. And some of my friends from the LGBT crowd sent me messages saying that, the FBI checked him out and they determined that he wasn't a terrorist, so you're barking up the wrong tree, Paul. But that's the wrong view to have. That's not what happened. It's just because he was so obsessed with Islamic terrorism was why he got reported to the FBI so many times. Now, there's too many people on these danger lists to check all of them all the time, and he kind of slipped through the cracks. But he got removed from his job at the courthouse as a security guard, and then he got transferred from the courthouse to the golf course because of the FBI's concern with his infatuation with Muslim terrorists. And sadly, the Obama administration released the portion of the transcripts of these 911 phone calls with redactions and omitted words. Basically, they removed the words ISIS, and they removed the words of the leader of ISIS. But after there was a huge outcry against this, like Paul Ryan saying, selectively editing this transcript is preposterous. The administration should release the full, unredacted transcript so the public is clear-eyed about who did this and why. And for example, when he called 911, the first thing he did was quote the Quran in Arabic as a prayer. And when the 911 operator asked him what his name was, he said, "My name is, I pledge allegiance to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi of the Islamic State. So my name is, I am a Muslim terrorist." And then he said, I did it. Though you can see that it's just completely preposterous to say that he was not religiously motivated, and it should be a red flag that so many are pretending that he was not religiously motivated. And it's natural to compare this to another tragic death in Orlando of this toddler that was taken by a gator. His dad tried to go after him, but he couldn't, and they eventually found the body, and it was drowning and traumatic injuries that caused the gator attack. First, I'll get something disgusting out of the way. Since I was accused of being so uncaring about death because I tried to say, oh, don't blame Christians for the Muslim shooting, that some of the LGBT crowd got angry at me for not mourning the LGBT situation enough. But some liberals, extreme liberals, are also lacking compassion in a strong way. Here on Twitter, after this 2-year-old boy was killed by a gator, the reaction that we have is, I'm so finished with white men's entitlement lately that I'm really not sad about a 2-year-old being eaten by a gator. And also, one more example, the kid was going to grow up to be an entitled white man. The gator is a hero. Isn't that sad to see the gator is a hero? I guess when you're an extreme secularist and you end up copying Christianity anyway, we have a human depravity where we're sinners and we need Jesus, but the secular copy of that is some kind of white privilege, so we can still feel bad about ourselves even though we have rejected God completely. But it's natural, actually. Nobody had a discussion of, let's not blame all gators for this. There's no morality because it's an animal. Now, it's sad, it's not the way it should be, that since that Genesis 3 fall, nature is out of control and not tamed, as much as we want it to be, as much as we build sidewalks. Disney World, more than anyone else, has tamed nature, yet this has happened. It's a reminder that we're in a Genesis 3 world. And it's also noteworthy that we naturally know that no one's saying like, oh, don't blame all gators. Don't blame all gators for this, because we know it's an animal. The animal is not morally responsible. Deep down we know that the gator was not made in the image of God as we are. And that's why when a man kills a man, there's naturally a moral discussion. And when an animal kills a man, a boy, it's just a tragedy. And that's just more evidence that we know that we are made in the image of God. Well, those are some of the big things. There's some fascinating stuff we didn't get to, so tune in next time, and I'm sure a bunch of other stuff will come up in the next week. But next time we'll cover an interesting article about how that whole thing with the gospel of the wife of Jesus was, of course, a big forgery. See you next time.